When graphing a sine or cosine function, it is very helpful to find its amplitude and period first. If it is shifted, then those should be found as well. So for each function we have, we're only going to graph one period. So we're going to start off with y equals cosine 2x. Now this has no horizontal or vertical shifts, so its basic function is just y equals a cosine kx. Let me clean up that k just a little bit. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my amplitude. And my amplitude is just the absolute value of a. In this case, a is the number in front of cosine, which is a 1. So the absolute value of 1, which is 1. Nice and easy. Next, I'm going to find the period. And the period is found by doing 2 pi over k. And k in this case is the number next to x. In this case, it's a 2. So 2 pi over 2, which is just going to give me pi. So when its amplitude is 1, its period is pi. So I'm going to do one complete period, which is going to be on the interval from 0 to pi. So draw this out. Now I know my amplitude is a 1, so that means it's going to go as high as 1 and as low as -1. And since there's no horizontal or vertical shifts, I know it's going to start at 1 because there's also no reflections. So we know it starts here, and we know it's going to end at pi. But where does it cross the x-axis along the way? Well, we know it's going to cross 2 times because that's what a cosine function does. So a nice way to do this is to take your interval, or take your period, and divide it by 4. And so we're going to actually go in quarter increments along the entire x-axis until we finish at pi. So first thing here is going to be at pi over 4, then at pi over 2, then at 3 pi over 4, and then finally ending at 4 pi over 4, which is just pi. Now this graph is going to cross out over here at pi over 4 and at 3 pi over 4. And it's going to go as low as pi over 2. And it's going to come back up and end at pi right up here. And so we're just going to draw our cosine wave down, back up, and through. And there is the graph of cosine 2x. Next, we're going to do y equals -3 sine 3x. So again, this has no horizontal or vertical shifts, and its basic form is y equals a sine kx. So first thing I'm going to do is find my amplitude. And that's just going to be the absolute value of a, so the absolute value of -3, which is 3. And then the period is just going to be 2 pi over k, so 2 pi over 3, because there's a 3 next to x. So 2 pi over 3 is going to be the period. And so my interval that I'm going to graph is going to be from 0 to 2 pi over 3. Now, again, I need to find out how this graph is going to look. So I start my setup here, and I know my amplitude is 3, so 1, 2, 3 up, and 1, 2, 3 down. So it's going to go as high as here and as low as here. And sine starts off at 0, 0, but my a value is -3. So this is actually going to have a reflection about x-axis. So the graph, instead of going like this, is actually going to be upside down. It's actually going to go like this. So knowing it's going to go down then up instead, we know that it ends at 2 pi over 3. Again, I'm going to take my period, which is 2 pi over 3, and divide it by 4. So 2 pi over 3 divided by 4, which is just going to give me 2 pi over 12, which is pi over 6. So I'm going to go in increments of pi over 6, starting at 0. So here is going to be my pi over 6. Then here is going to be my pi over 3. Then here is going to be my pi over 2. And then out here is going to be my 2 pi over 3. And so now I'm just going to graph it. So I'm going to go down to 3, then up through here, and capping off at pi over 2, and then going back down and stopping here. So this would be one complete period of this trig function here. So now I'm going to do it one more time for this one. This one is shifted, so this one's going to have a slightly different one, but still we're going to follow the same pattern. So again, amplitude is going to be absolute value of the number in front of cosine, so absolute value of 2, which is 2. My period is going to be 2 pi over k, and this time k is 4 pi, so it's going to be 2 pi over 4 pi, which is just going to give us a half. And this graph has actually been shifted down 2 units because of the minus 2. An appropriate interval to graph is going to be from 0 to a half. So set up my graph. Now cosine has an amplitude of 2, so it means up 2 and down 2, but it's also been shifted down 2. So normally it would start up here at 2, but in this case, because it's been shifted down 2, it's going to start here at 0, and it would have stopped right here at negative 2, but in fact it's going down to negative 4. So still it has an amplitude of 2 because its middle here is at negative 2. Now we have our interval 0 to 1/2, but again I'm going to divide 1/2 by 4, which is just going to give me 1 over 8. So I'm going to go in 1/8 increments along the x-axis. So starting here, I'm going to have an 1/8, and then a 1/4, 3/8, and then finally ending here at a 1/2. So we're going to start here, we're going to go down, and its lowest point is going to be halfway, and the halfway point here is at a 1/4. So I'm going to put a dot here just so I can see it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to end right here at a 1/2. So go down, cross, and come back up. And while it's not the best looking cosine wave, it will do the job. And this is the graph of this trig function.